Hello and welcome back to another episode of Up The Poshcast. Peterborough United lost 3-2 away at promotion-chasing Huddersfield Town. And despite losing, we were actually fairly upbeat tonight. That was, I would say, easily the most encouraging performance of what's been a pretty tough season so far. Tonight, I was joined by Del, Charlie, Max. I'm Harry. We really just went through the game. There wasn't a lot else to say. We talked a little bit about the squad makeup and what it's like now having a squad of over 30 players and what that means for occasionally some of the traditional first team being left out of the squad entirely. But beyond that, it was very much focused on the game. Just a couple of notices. We'd like to mention that we received a donation this week from Tomo. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way to helping us run the pod. There's significant costs to running it, and every donation helps us deliver a better product for you, the listeners. So, Tomo, thank you for your donation this week. And I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, Elite Lawn Maintenance. They're a local, independent, family-run lawn care company specialising in renovations and chemical treatments. They run a treatment programme within 30 miles of Peterborough. Their products are up to 360 times stronger than local garden centre treatments. They have over 10 years of experience of maintaining football pitches, including Posh's, and they are Peterborough's leading independent lawn care company. Contact them today to arrange for a free lawn consultation. And also, Up The Poshcast listeners will receive 25% off their first treatment. So get yourself on the phone to Elite Lawn Maintenance. And with that, enjoy the show. Charlie, 3-2 to Huddersfield. It was an encouraging performance, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. I thought actually for a long period of the game, we were the dominant force. I think, firstly, it's important to acknowledge, I think Huddersfield are a very good team. They have a great squad for this level, like a really good squad. The fact that they were bringing players like Alfie May on from the bench is crazy. You know, Joe Taylor is a £3 million striker. That's how much they paid for him. So we have to acknowledge that. They're a good team and we made them look pretty ordinary. We really frustrated them. I think it was obvious from the reaction of their fans, particularly in the first half, that they weren't used to being sort of stifled the way that we did. I thought defensively we looked strong for large periods of the game. We moved the ball really nicely. The patterns of play, I was really concerned that we wouldn't build up effectively with the 3-5-2. I thought it might be a bit stunted, but that certainly wasn't an issue today. I really think, I was really pleased with the way that we built up. Because we looked good. The goal was great to go ahead. Great moment. I loved the players jumping over the hoardings and celebrating with the fans. Brought me. It's moments like that that bring you closer to the squad, isn't it? And gives you a greater connection to them, and that's what's been missing so far this season. I thought overall it was a pretty good performance. And nothing is decided in the season by Huddersfield away. And even if we'd won every game so far this season, I wouldn't be expecting us necessarily to go to Huddersfield in League One and win. So I'm not massively concerned about it. It was never going to be a defining game. The important thing today was to see an improvement in the performance levels and see some encouraging signs out of new players especially. And I think we got all of that.
Yes, I am pretty much with you there, Charlie. The fact that I've just driven nearly 8 hours, including dropping you off, and I don't actually come back feeling disappointed after a loss, I think says a lot. And I was happy to clap them when they all came over. And I was pretty hesitant at Wigan, for example, because I actually don't think they left everything on the field that day. Today, honestly, you couldn't fault the effort levels. And with the odd exception, I actually thought it was a really intelligent performance on the whole. I could think it sticks out in my mind. There was just one little example of the midfield losing shape in the second half, and it stuck out because it was so unlike the rest of the game. The setup, the 5-3-2, absolutely worked for long periods, and the players looked like they bought into the plan and went after it hard. The tackling was excellent in the first half. As I say, measured, balanced midfield worked really well on the whole. And I'm not concerned after a game, or rather after a performance like that. That's the sort of one where if we were right now sat on 7 or 8 points, you just kind of go, yeah, fine, it happens. You lose games like that sometimes against teams that look destined to go up. And yeah, I've not felt as positive as this all season, even though we're now 4 points adrift.
Well, people that know me, people that sort of listen to the pod, I'm not over bothered if we get beat, as long as we put the performance in, put the attitude in. And today, I think the first half, I was impressed with our performance. I was impressed with our work ethic. I was impressed with, how we stuck together as a team. I think that's probably the best half of football that we have produced this season. I was very encouraged with it. The new guys, they looked on it. They looked good. The 5 at the back didn't really look like a 5, because I think for the first 15, 20 minutes, I can't remember what I spoke to you, said, has Huddersfield been in their half yet? Because we was camped into their half. Even though, it was mainly the defenders that had the ball. We wasn't really creating too much, but we was in control of that game. Went off at half time. I was pleased. Do you know what? We're going to get something out of this game. And then when it came into the second half, obviously we got the early goal, which was great. And then that's when the game changed for me, once we brought the subs on. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but the subs that we brought on were old players, if that makes sense. Ones that we had last season or we signed in the summer. And, you could definitely see the quality or the lack of quality that come off the bench compared to what started the game. So once we get, and I see why we've done it for fitness, but I was quite encouraged, and I actually do believe we should have got something out of that game. Not necessarily a win, but I think we could have, if we had left there with a draw, we would have felt a bit hard done by. But losing, I don't think was fair, but I was encouraged by probably the first 15 minutes performance and some of the second half, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm not too concerned, but we do need to try and create more, because even though we looked half decent, we still wasn't creating enough. And you're not going to score every time you create a goal opportunity. So we need to create more and more so we can take some chances. That is the area we've now got to work on. But clearly that department has improved from the work ethic that I saw from the guys up front until we made the sub.
Yeah, it's funny for me because I think this game felt tough for me. I actually think it was probably the most roller coaster of sort of emotion I've been through during a game for quite some time. Actually, I genuinely thought Huddersfield looked very average, if not poor, all the way up until they scored their goal. And when they got their goal, they played some really great stuff. And we saw why they were going to be a top half contender. But for the vast majority of the game, I didn't really feel like they put any sort of pressure on us. Defensively, we were great. Tackling, we were great. Chance creation, we looked toothless. And it is something that we are going to have to really improve fast on, because we've got Wickham, Plymouth and Lincoln next. 3 teams that I think have been struggling to start the season. These are 3 games that we can build some momentum off of now. I want to just talk about Fergie just very quickly. I understand that this squad is huge. I understand the difficult task he's got on his hand about managing. And I understand entirely that we didn't have the personnel to really bring a lot of impact off the bench. I don't know why, when we've brought Mendonca, for example, we are playing Kioso at centre-half to bring Hayes on at wing-back. Why not just put a centre-back on or change the system to the 4-2-4, which we've seen with wingers? I think there could have been a system change that would have been better suited to go after the game. And I think not necessarily the goals we conceded were down to Fergie, but I don't think I agree with the subs that were made at certain points. I think when Mendy came off with cramp, I don't think we needed to bring Carl Johnston on. I think it was 1-1 when he went off, or I think we just conceded the second. At that point, I would have liked to have seen the 4-2-4. I would have liked to have seen the wingers come on. I would have liked to have seen somebody else drift out to the left flank, or, you know, bring Mendonca on, or even if you're going to bring Carl Johnston on, do a double sub and take one of the centre halves off and really go for the game at that point. Huddersfield almost felt, to me anyway, like a bit of a write-off. I don't think anybody expected us to win. It's sort of a bit of a blank page. To get these players playing together, I would have loved us to have gone for the game then and really put our foot on the gas and go, right, if we're struggling in transition, which the third goal did feel a little bit transitional, didn't it? We were caught on the break almost, and Taylor ran through and scored that goal. But ultimately, if we'd have gone to the 4-2-4 or even the 4-2-3-1, which we've been so used to, do we concede that goal? Are we still in the game? Are we still pushing? And I think we've got the personnel on the pitch. You know, we brought Hayes and Lisbie on. They would have done the same thing if they were on the wings. We would have gone for the game, right?
Yeah, I actually think that I agree with you. And it told a lot that CJ started at left back for what, like 5 minutes, and then moved over to the right. So I am with you there. But yeah, let's get into it. The players. Charlie, you were a bit lukewarm on Bass. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I'm not lukewarm on Bass generally. Like, I'm still excited that we signed him. I still think he's a very good goalkeeper. And today hasn't really changed my view on that. But it was a shaky debut. Like, there's no doubt about that. Nobody can pretend it wasn't. You know, he nearly had an absolute stinker with his first touch. I mean, that was a serious moment of madness. And, you know, what a terrible way to start the Peterborough career. It would have been for him. And then, you know, the Joe Taylor chance, which he should have scored. I don't know how he didn't score, Joe Taylor. Still prone to missing sitters, it seems. Bass literally could have done anything like other than kick it straight up against him, put it out of play, do a little like flick and play it to the side. Literally the only risk was the fact that Joe Taylor was running straight head on at him and he hit the ball straight into him. I thought he looked like a decent shot stopper. I don't think there's anything he could do about any of the goals, really. Maybe could have got down a little bit quicker for the Joe Taylor one, the third goal. Sort of went through his legs, which no goalkeeper really likes. But I thought overall it was an okay debut, and I'm still very confident about the signing. And he looks physically really good. Like, he looked strong. He didn't look like he was willing to shirk a challenge. But yeah, I just thought shaky debut. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I still feel good about him, like you say, but yeah, he needs just a bit too loose at times. Simple as that. On the fullbacks, so if you want to call them that, wing backs, Kioso and Mendy, we got, in my opinion, exactly. It was almost like we left off from Derby County and started again at Huddersfield. The Peter Kioso that we knew and loved, exact same player. Love the fact that almost every time, he wasn't completely perfect today, but he knew when to bomb forward or pass it in. He knew when to slow down, when to speed up. Just the tempo control from that right-hand side, perfect. And clearly he doesn't need Poco in front of him to do it. But he did really, really well today, even with two strikers in front of him rather than a natural winger. And he was completely serviceable at centre-back, I thought. I thought he did pretty well there. Mendy was fine until the first goal. And I appreciate Sorensen is an incredibly quick player. But yeah, it's a game-defining moment. Sadly, it's not dissimilar to what happened with Mills at Wigan away, where you make a mistake, the opportunity arises, and the first goal for the opposition goes in. With that being said, there was a decent amount there from him, I thought. I want to see a bit more going forward from him, I would say. I know that he tried and he got round his man once in the first half, but just more consistency as he builds on his fitness as well. He didn't play a lot last year. Reasonable, but I'd love to see him do more as the weeks progress.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fitness thing was a massive thing for Mendy. I think in an ideal world, if we probably wouldn't have played him, but the fact he was cramping up on what was it, 65 minutes, something like that, 70 minutes was pretty telling that he wasn't quite there. One thing I will say about him is physically he looks like an absolute unit. Like even just from the warm up, I was looking at him, and I think Max pointed out, I was like, look how big Mendy is, and like his upper body, like his chest and his arms were like I've not seen anything like it. It was ridiculous, so strong. And he really used that to great effect for a lot of the game. Yeah, the Sorensen moment was a disappointing one. I'm not going to lie, because even I'd expect an experienced player of Mendy to do something there, regardless of whether he can make a tackle or not. Just make a foul, like take the yellow card, pull his shirt, rugby tackle him, trip him up. I don't care. Like he should have known pretty early on and read it that Sorensen had got the better of him, and I don't think any of us would have judged him for making that foul and bailing the team out. And he got absolutely skinned. Let's be honest. I don't think he was helped by his Wrexham compatriot Tom O'Connor, because he wasn't really back. I know we weren't really expecting it to happen, but he wasn't in as deep a position as maybe he could have been. There was nobody there to block the cross in. But yeah, Mendy going forward was a bit frustrating, I felt, as well. Like there was that moment where we really botched up that free kick in the first half. The ball was played by Keller out wide for some reason, when I really thought he was just going to have a shot or try and slide it through or something. And then Mendy, he was meant to cross the ball first time, and then I think hesitated a second and then chopped back in and ended up recycling it. And we ended up, it was just a complete mess. I don't think he had the conviction that maybe he should have. I think he'll improve as the weeks go on. And the one thing we can say about both him and O'Connor is that they definitely looked calm and composed, and nothing really in the game fazed them. They look like they are used to that level of game. But yeah, I think foul the man if you're not going to tackle him for the first goal, and then just be a bit more ruthless going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he has to foul him. I think he just has to pull his shirt. Again, as Harry mentioned earlier, it's a game-defining moment, isn't it? And quite simply, you have to draw the foul, or you have to foul him. Stand in front of him, take the 50-50. If you get booked, you get booked. If you're going to come off at 70 minutes anyway, I think it would have been tactical. I actually think we probably could have got a result from it if he got the foul. That moment changed everything, because the Huddersfield fans were actually relatively silent until that happened. So I don't think they get the crowd behind them. A man I want to speak about more than anything, actually, I have driven home excited to speak about George Nevitt, and I simply adore him. I said it, I might have jumped the gun ever so slightly last season by saying that he was a top-end League One centre-back, and then I do believe he got skinned and then dropped from the squad. However, these last handful of games, I think he's been our best player. I thought, again, today, he was the best player on the pitch for us. He is starting to look more and more like Ronnie Edwards-esque as the games go on. The way he can step into midfield, and he was demanding more. There was a leadership quality today that I hadn't seen from George Nevitt. He was demanding players to make the runs. He was demanding players to spray to run so he could spray the ball. And that's something that I really like from the centre back, especially if you're going to drift into the middle of the three. You've got to command. And we saw Lees there for a lot of the game, but I think that's where Nevitt should be playing, the middle. Because what I would absolutely love to see is Nevitt to step almost up towards midfield and be able to dictate that play, almost like what Archie Collins does, to give the midfield three license to go forward. That would be something that we can do with George Nevitt, because with the ball at his feet, he is fantastic. And I do think he's top-end League One when we're talking about the ball at his feet. And the signing of Lees has actually been a fantastic one. I presume Lees is here until Hughes is fit, and then we'll let him go. I presume that's why the contract length is undisclosed. But Lees is clearly teaching Nevitt loads, because Nevitt looks like he can defend. He's more physical. He knows when to be tactical, when he knows how to draw a foul. And those qualities we hadn't really seen before, we're seeing them more now. And equally, I think Nevitt's, Lees was playing the ball through midfield and playing the ball out to the wing backs. It almost felt like Nevitt and Lees have sort of taught each other a little bit, and that partnership seems really cool. And it almost felt like Nevitt had sort of shown Lees what he sees when the triggers come in and when to play that ball, because I think Lees actually was really good on the ball today. And that's not something I really thought when we signed him. You know, I thought we were going to sign this big sort of slogger who's going to boot the ball up the pitch and get rid of it every single time, but actually looked really composed today. So both of those centre-backs I was really pleased with. Lee's unfortunate for the second goal. I think he's tried to get his head in it. It's just deflected it up past Bass's arm, but again, really good from both. And George Nevitt especially was my man of the match today.
I think, to be fair, Nevitt deserves lots of credit today. I know we lost the game 3-2, but somebody give me a stat. Nevitt had the most amount of successful dribbles. You know what I mean? Not bad as a centre-back. I just thought he was on point. You know, we've given, it's fair to say, over the sort of period of time that he's been with us, we've given him a bit of flack. And whatnot, but last month he was my player of the month. It doesn't really say a lot because there wasn't much competition. But today, he looked, I don't know, he just looked like 10 feet tall. He looked in control of the ball every single time he got it. He wasn't phased. He wasn't panicked. You know, he was calm, collected, and it was a joy to watch. Now, is that because of the experience, as I think you just alluded to, Max, that he had next to him that give him that confidence? If it was, fair play. You know, I would happily watch Nevitt every week, because today's performance I thought was outstanding. You know, yeah, we lost the game 3-2. We conceded 3 goals. I'm with Max. Nevitt was my man of the match, and you know, I don't really want to talk about any more of the back five, because I think Nevitt was worthy of his ratings today. Very well played.
Well, if you won't mention any more of the back five, I will bring up Tom O'Connor in a bit more detail, who was my man of the match. Although, to be clear, I actually thought Nevitt was really good as well. The one thing on Nevitt, right, same thing happened to him that happened against Bradford, which was when there was a mistake in midfield, which I know is not Nevitt's fault, but he immediately lost his man, the far striker who reacted quick enough. I forget who it was who scored for Bradford, but today, obviously, Joe Taylor managed to get ahead of Nevitt after a midfield mistake. It's hard. Nevitt's not that quick. Doesn't need to be part of his game that he's quick. But when that mistake happens, just immediately sit back 2 or 3 more yards. Give yourself that little bit of breathing room, because the striker is going to react. Tom O'Connor, though, really good. Just, you know how we've said before that some of Collins' best games, the ones we don't notice he's there. There were periods in our defending where I just almost forgot what O'Connor's involvement had been, because it was just so smooth. And I love the fact that he went out to left back and was just as good out there. It's not surprising to me that this was a regular in a promotion winning side last season. I think I know that in the long run, we probably want Nevitt and Hughes, who are 2 actual owned players by this club, to be the leading centre-back pairing. But there's got to be room for O'Connor in this side throughout the rest of the season if he's going to put in performances like that. Really, really impressed.
Yeah, I can already feel myself, you know, preparing to advocate for the permanent signing of him, because he just looked unbelievably composed today. Looked like a winner. Looked like someone who was never going to really give the ball away or play us into danger. There was just like a couple of moments that were just such high quality, like out on the left-hand side in the first half, right in front of the away end, when he was under pressure and he just sort of played this just delicate little 1-2 with Mendy and then got us out of trouble. And I was like, yeah, that's quality. That is real quality. And it's something that we've been missing this season, just composure. He did not like run around like a headless chicken. He didn't do more than he had to, but it was just a relatively flawless performance from him. Also interesting to note that he was on corners. I thought his corner delivery was good for the most part. It's a weird one seeing a centre-back take a corner, but he seemed good enough to do it. Can understand also why he's played in midfield. He looked easily to have the passing range and engine to do so. I was really impressed. I gave him and Nevitt equal scores today. I think they were both very good. It's frustrating that they're both left-footed, because it means they probably will never play in a partnership together, but O'Connor and Hughes could be a very strong centre-back partnership as well, because there's a natural balance of a left foot and a right foot, and obviously they've played together before at Burton. I think that could be something that could be, if we do ever decide to go to the back four this season, that could be probably our strongest partnership. And then just moving up the pitch slightly, because we've sort of talked about the defenders. I thought in the first half, especially the midfield was very good, had real bite and aggression. And I think the person that sort of typified that was Brandon Keller. His energy in the midfield was really good today. It felt like today was the best we've seen of him. He was a real terrier against the Terriers in there. He was just tackling, chasing, really, really good. There was very little that he did wrong. I think the only thing that he could have done better was passing forward a bit more. I think he maybe lacked a bit of vision going forward, but that'll come with an understanding of the system. And it was nice to see him not having to do as much dirty work. He's been really worried, it seems like, in the opening games about his defensive role because of the back three being a lot more solid. That was sort of a weight taken off of his shoulders. And I thought his performance in that first half, I think he dropped off slightly, probably a result of how much game time he's had to play in this opening month of the season. But yeah, I was really impressed with Brandon Keller today. That was sort of the running and the doggedness that Bradford fans told us we were going to get with him.
Yeah, I said after Bradford that Keller's been extremely hot and cold, and today I thought he was red hot. I really did think that he was a real menace in that midfield. It gave Bradford gave Huddersfield all sorts of problems, and ultimately they couldn't really get away from Keller. Keller seems to be all over their midfield three, and that's something that I was really impressed with, and it's something that I've been really desperate to see from Keller, because I have praised his engine so much, his stamina, his ability to chase and chase and chase. And today it felt like there was an end product on that chase. You know, when you chase something, you want a success at the end. It felt like every time he'd start that chase, there was a success, whether that was a tackle, whether it was a block pass, whether it was an interception, whether it was a turnover of play. And what I really liked towards the end of the game is when he was making the runs forward, he was screaming for the ball over the top at least 3 times. I saw him made some 3 really clever runs. Again, nobody picked them out. And when Lolos tried to towards the back end of the game, he sent it out of play. I felt if Keller got control of that, there was a real chance that we could score a goal. So if he's going to do that and bomb forward and make those forward runs and make those creative runs, it's going to be something that's going to be really good for the future. And as we've said, you know, Keller hasn't been brought in to play every single game, but there's a lot of competition for places at the moment. We know Fergie doesn't really like to change. And I feel like he's finally happy with the balance of this squad. So maybe we could see Keller appear more than what we initially thought this season.
Yeah, agreed. I don't see Keller leaving the side anytime soon. I think once Woods is back, it might cause a bit of a question. But yeah, also, the tackling was great. I wouldn't want to lose that out of the midfield, to be honest. Garbutt's an interesting one. I basically watched 30 minutes of Garbutt at Bradford and thought this is the second coming here, and we have exactly 1 year of this guy, and then he'll be gone. I wasn't at Exeter to see his performance, but yeah, he was excellent against Bradford, and he was okay today. I think there was a lot of his performance was in the subtlety, where it was about standing in the right place, not overcommitting. And I referenced it earlier. There was a moment where we lost midfield shape, and it was where Garbutt, out of character for him today, slide tackled in really like erroneously. You remember it? Yeah. And didn't get the ball. Outside of that, his off the ball work was really good. Just on the ball, he did lack a little bit of precision today. There was a ball out towards Lisbie towards the end that was just over here. I think he might think that Lisbie didn't time his run properly, but honestly, that would have been tough to get to. I'm still encouraged, but in games like that, where it's against the absolute best in the league, you want to see your top level midfielders playing their best games. And today he was just okay. Unfortunately, as I say, I'm still feeling good on him, but just have to be honest. Out of the 3, it was the one I was least impressed with.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Harry, but I still think there were just moments from him, weren't there? Like little shuffles where you just think, yeah, this guy's good. He uses his body so well. Like he has such a good natural physique to play in that position, and he really makes it count. Obviously, one of the big things from today was the fact that we had a new strike partnership. Their first time playing together, Harry Leonard and Jimmy J Morgan, and I thought they were very good, like very good. Yes, they did not create as much as potentially we would like, but what they did do was made us so much better defensively because of the way they defended from the front. Their pressing was excellent, especially Jimmy J Morgan, who nicked the ball at least 3 or 4 times and ran forward with it. He is quality, Jimmy J Morgan. I really feel good about him. He looks like he's got a little bit of that maverick about him. I loved, he scored a goal off his bum, which is, every striker's dream. And then I loved watching his passion, running towards the fans, jumping over the advertising hoardings, kissing the badge, patting it on his chest. Yeah, that's what I like to see. When have we ever seen Gustav do that? I mean, he'd have to score first, but when have we, he's been here for 5 days, less than that probably, and he's already really endearing himself to the fans. And he looked like he has a good rapport with Leonard as well, who, listen, had a quiet day, didn't look like £1 million striker, but that's fair enough. We're playing away at a very big side, but what he did was very good. He won the free kick, which led to the goal, and he took the free kick. He put in a good shift. I was really impressed with those two. I think, it was tough seeing Big Bad Brad. We'll give him a mention, scoring 2 for Shrewsbury today, but seeing our 2 strikers doing well was reassuring, and I think those 2 have now solidified themselves as the first choice partnership up there. I think their link up will only grow as the season goes on, and I'd really back those 2 to get some serious goals between them this campaign.
Yeah, Charlie, I completely agree. Jimmy J Morgan was the one that impressed me more, actually, and he didn't actually cost us anything. We got him on loan. And what a signing he appears and could hopefully be for us, because that is one of the most, not necessarily impressing, but they say never fall in love with a lone player. Those celebrations made me fall in love with a lone player. And it's actually quite scary because I don't want him to go back. I think I said to Charlie at least 5 times, give Chelsea what they want. And that's just me being reactionary, I think. But I think they're going to be so important for us this season. Gustav came on, and I didn't think it was Gustav's worst game per se, but I did think we looked far more toothless when Jimmy J Morgan went off the pitch. I think he's going to be one of our most important players in terms of scoring goals. We've just got to get that creativity down, and I'm really putting my trust and faith in Dan Ferguson after the head loss episode against Leyton Orient. I am putting my faith in Dan Ferguson to turn the ship around and hopefully get some of this creative spark back in the team, because my God, do we need it.
So I think that brings us on now to the subs. I've already alluded to earlier that I actually thought the game changed once we brought the subs on. So just a couple of quick mentions from me. So the 2 attackers that we had, you could clearly see that they are better than what our Swedish centre forward is. There is no, it's like chalk and cheese. You could see the difference. So I'm not sure that we'll see Gustav in a Peterborough shirt many times more because it's just not working for him. It just isn't good enough. But I don't want to criticise a guy too much, but it is what it is. One of the other subs that did annoy me, I ain't going to lie, it did annoy me, and I think it annoyed quite a lot of people, is, we was losing a game and we're trying to chase a game and then give away a free kick or the ball went out of play, I don't know what it was. But then Lisbie, what was that about? Why kick the ball when we're trying to get back into the game, get a goal back? Why kick the ball into the crowd the way that he did? Not only into the crowd, but into the Peterborough crowd. I just don't get it. So for that, there's a little bit of petulance there. That needs to be worked on. We're all frustrated, but when there's still minutes on the clock and we've still got a chance to get a goal back, whatever, don't be booting the ball away. You want to be booting the ball to the player so they can take the throw-in, free kick, whatever it was. But yeah, I think, if I'm honest, that was my biggest disappointment of the day. That little bit of petulance from from young Lisbie. But hopefully it's a one-off, turn around, get into it, because he has been pretty good of late, you know, some of his little runs down the thingy. So it's definitely one for the future. Just nip that little bit in the bud. But the subs were our Achilles heel today.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Kyrell. If you're going to boot it into the crowd, at least turn around and whack it towards a Huddersfield fan. I think, going back to Gustav, Fergie is very clearly frustrated with him. He didn't mention him by name, but he basically, called him at fault for the third goal, which is something he quite rarely does, actually. He very rarely names a position or names one player at fault for a goal, but he basically put that on the shoulders of Gustav for not holding the ball up properly. He is really just low of confidence. He has no swagger. We spoke about Jimmy J. Morgan and Leonard just looking confident and aggressive, and they just look like, it was like poor Gustav was like a little hurt puppy, and they were two greyhounds playing up front. He was just so weak when he came on. He doesn't really ever engage with a defender physically, it feels like. He never gives a nudge. He just sort of saunters around. I mean, he was lucky, actually, to get the assist for the goal that we got late on, because it was a terrible header and it just so happened to find Hayes at the back post. But he really should have scored the header. And you think, if it hadn't gone in, we'd probably still be talking about it as a massive chance. Gustav is in trouble, real trouble. He cost the football club a lot of money, and without rehashing old ground, he just has not looked up to it. The fact that he didn't start today, the fact that Fergie went with not one, but two strikers that we got in on Monday over him, shows how much faith the manager has in him. I think, listen, Gustav's days are numbered. I cannot believe that we turned down another bid from him, apparently, from a Swedish top flight club. I just beggars belief. But yeah, I was not impressed with Gustav Lindgren today at all. I think he is coming to the end of his time. And you're right, Del. He's not going to be in this team for much longer. As soon as those two new lads can start doing 90s, his part will be reduced to cameos at best.
I am going to be uncharacteristic here and defend Gustav to a certain extent, because honestly, fine. He had a dribble where he went sideways and got tackled. Bit of an error for the third goal. But he was in the right spot for the header. Even if he fluffed the header, his positioning was better. And also, the key thing for me that I think is worth mentioning, if player in both terrible form and clearly at zero confidence, you actually need to try and remember the things that you did well. And he had an exceptionally good through ball towards the end that was fluffed. And on other days, that absolutely would have been an assist. Anyway, he had the vision to actually do some proper build-up in a moment when he had a little bit of space, got it out of his feet and laid it off, as he should do. We didn't have any other through balls today. I'm pretty sure that was the only one. There was a moment, and I'm going backwards a little bit, but there was a moment where CJ was out at left wing back where he could have put Gustav through. And one more as well. Gustav, in that run where he came across and was offside, he was not offside. He absolutely timed that run perfectly, took the ball down, and was about to set himself up for a shot before the flag went up. There was way more encouraging things from Gustav's performance today, even if it was still a bit pants in places. When a player is absolutely shot for confidence, at least try and make sure we recognise that there was at least something. One of our hosts, as people will see when the ratings come out, gave him a 1 today, and frankly, I think it's a bit childish and a bit agenda-y, if you ask me. It was fine from Gustav. I thought, obviously, nothing to write home about, but there was at least something there.
I'm also going to do something uncharacteristic and agree with Harry. I didn't think Gustav was terrible today. I thought he did give the ball away, didn't he, for the third, I believe. There was still obviously a few mistakes, but in terms of poor Gustav performances, that was not one of them. And I'm not going to say I necessarily enjoyed it to a degree, but there was definitely signs of improvement. So if we can continue on ever so slightly upward trajectory, that would be nice. I have an overarching gripe that I did just want to mention before we talk about anything else, and that is our inability to pull the trigger. I don't think it matters if we had Lionel Messi in the middle of the pitch, pulling the strings. If we can't take shots, we're not going to score goals. There was one that really highlighted that lack of, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's ability. I can't put my finger on it. But Lisbie almost stood the goalkeeper up like he was going to run the ball into the back of the net rather than shooting from where he was. He beat the player. He'd done all of the hard work. And there was a gap at the near post. He could have used his left foot to try and drill it across the goal. And I do not care if it goes out for a goal kick, if it goes into the next city, next town, over the stadium. I don't care. All I care about is we're taking the pop shots to get the goal, because we get a goal and we can really begin to try and build on something, because right now we're fighting on scraps. I mean, Jimmy J. Morgan scored with his bum today. It's not like we're talking about fast-paced, attacking, creative football like we saw 2 years ago. You know, it's not that same level, and we can put all the creative juice into the team. If players aren't going to get up to their position and shoot and try and score the goals aren't going to come. So I do think it was a really good performance today in areas. I think there was a lot of frustration for me, especially. But what I will say is two things. If we can get creativity into this system and players can have the balls to take it on and shoot, because I don't think, and this might sound really harsh, but I don't think players will be able to make it any higher than this level, if not the level below, if they're not going to be able to take the game by the scruff of the neck and take shots when they need to take shots. It felt like at times today we were really trying to pass responsibility and let somebody else take the shot, or try and find somebody else to shoot. Just take it on yourself. We're not going to fault you for effort. Nobody will. And hopefully those two things, shooting and creativity, can improve and we can start getting some wins on the board.
All right. I think that's it on the game. I suppose we could also mention, there's not a lot else to say about today. It's a whole week till the next game, but we could mention the absentees. No JD, no Mills, no Oddo. Now, it sounded like Oddo is injured from Fergie's interview with BBC Cams. But were we surprised to see Mendonca on the bench, but not our two other academy defenders?
No, not at all. Like, I think people are making an absolute mountain out of a molehill about this whole Mills and JD thing. You know, apparently Mills was at Enfield. What a disaster, you know? Who cares, man? Like, I think both of them are in dire need of a break. Tuesday night looked like a horrific shift for them too. They both looked very low on confidence and a bit of time out of the team. These are very young players. Will do them a favour. And also, it's like, looking at it numerically, if we did, let's say we put Mills in the squad instead of Mendonca, then we wouldn't have a single recognised centre-back on the bench. Like, it was just positional. Mendonca is our only extra centre-back. We're playing a back three. You know, when Hughes is back fit, I guess Mendonca will probably drop out of the squad and go back to 21s football. But yeah, we had CJ to come on at fullback. Hayes could play left wing back. Positionally, you know, you can only name 7 subs, and positionally we named, I think, a pretty balanced group of players. I know Fergie also likes to have more attacking subs than defensive ones available, because, you know, you want to bring on attackers to change a game. And we wouldn't have been, you know, let's say we took Mills and JD, we wouldn't have been able to make as many forward-thinking subs as we did. So let's not make a mountain out of a molehill. Mills and JD haven't fallen out with Fergie. Fergie doesn't hate them. Fergie's not getting rid of them forever, you know. They were just not involved in a matchday squad. And I'm sure when it's a bit closer to home and a home game next Saturday, they'll either be in the squad or at the game supporting the boys. So I would not be concerned.
Oh, I 100% agree. But just bearing in mind, we now have a squad of, is it 32? I think it was 33 before Wakeling signed for who happened to score 2 today. Another story. But, you know, when you've got a squad of over 30 professional footballers, not everyone can go to the, you know, get on a coach and go to the game. So I've got no qualms that the likes of Donnelly, Mills, whoever wasn't even at the game. It is concerning that we haven't actually got rid of any players, apart from, as I just said, Wakeling. You got, you know, what's going to happen? They're all going to drop down to lower league, non-league, because I think that's the only option for them, or we're going to keep hold of them until January. And, you know, that's a big amount of players to keep happy. Just going back to Mendonca, 100% agree he was the right person to have on a bench, because when he come on Tuesday, I actually thought he was very calm, assured, and for a young lad, you know, I would have no qualms chucking him on the pitch if we needed another centre back on to get us out of trouble, etc. So the players we've got far too many players now, as we know. We can't keep them all happy. Some are going to have to be left at home, and if they go and choose to watch another game elsewhere or whatever, go shopping, it's entirely up to them. But if you're picked in a squad, you know, you need to be professional, you need to do the job, and you need to be ready to come on if you're called upon. So, you know, we're going to see a lot more of it between now and January at a minimum, of players being left out who we don't think should be left out. So it is what it is. Bottom line is, great performance today. A lot better performance today. Things to work on. I'm looking forward to Wickham on Saturday, I believe it. Wickham, that's the next game, isn't it? So whoever our next game is, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah, we've got a week off. We'll be back with countdown to kick off on Friday at 8 p.m. to preview the Wickham game at home. And I, for one, am looking forward to being in the GH display for the first time this season. I'm sure we'll see a lot of people in there. But with that, we are there. Any other business? Should we go to bed? For those listening, we're recording this it's 18 past 11 p.m. on the night of the game. That's how much we want to deliver content to you, our great listeners. So thank you for being with us, and Up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast. Don't forget, you can still buy our badges from us. Come and find me in the home end or home side.
Buy my badges!